This is my club. Fucking love this football club. Welcome everybody to another episode of Golden Gooner TV. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody is bouncy and feeling full of energy like I am after yesterday's victory. Guys, before we get into the video, as always, thank you for all your support. Please make sure that you subscribe, like, and comment, and make sure you turn on those notification bells so you are the first to know when new content has dropped. Without further ado, guys, let's get right into it. So, Arsenal 4, Newcastle 1. And I think that's some GEORDIE redemption or revenge, I can say, for Arsenal yesterday. Just the way we approached the game with everything that has happened in the past between the two teams, even the two managers on the touchline, the assistant manager and Jason Tindall from Newcastle with Arteta as well. You know, there's always an underlying, beef, if I could say, between the two teams. And I think we approached the game yesterday the exact way that we needed to, especially after losing against Porto. And the thing is, you've won 5 in a row in the league, and then you lose a game. It's like, okay, how does the team respond? Do they just brush it off, or do they actually, ponder on that defeat and, becomes a run now? And Arsenal did the complete opposite of that. They literally bounced back in emphatic fashion. And yes, guys, I think I'm going to get straight into the performance yesterday. I was very impressed, guys. That is the level of performance I expect from Arsenal. And I'm not talking about the goals. I'm talking about the enthusiasm, the energy, the willingness to play for the badge, as one would say. We play with pride, The thing that frustrated me the most with the Porto game is that it looked like the players weren't up for it, or they just weren't, for some reason, they just were really off. And look, this Arsenal team works hard, but I need them to, really, play the way Arteta coaches, in that high intensity. I know it's not always easy, but what I mean by that is that there needs to be a certain level of effort that this group of players cannot go below. And I think yesterday we were really, really up there in terms of performance-wise, but also the levels that we brought to the overall performance. And I think that's one of the probably best games I've seen from Arsenal this season in terms of complete and utter domination. The first half was all us, guys. I think Newcastle had 1 touch in our box in 45 minutes. I think we had over 20. And we looked like we could be 4-0 up at halftime, if I'm being honest. We just maybe weren't as ruthless. Maybe had a bit of nerves from the Porto game, but obviously once you get the 2 goals, you are settled. But it was a dominating performance from Arsenal from first whistle to, I would say, last, except for there was a 10-minute period in the second half where Newcastle, had a couple of chances, they won the ball a bit more. But after we got that 3rd goal from Saka, we took the life out of the game, and that was it. I'm a bit upset that we didn't keep a clean sheet, and if you ask me, I think that we could have prevented that goal way before it actually happened. Same with the Porto goal in the week. It's a series of mistakes, in my opinion, that lead to a goal that I think is quite preventable if just you fix one of those mistakes. So overall, I'm giving that performance a 9 out of 10. I think from the team, it's just the only thing I could just go against him is the clean sheet. I think we're looking at it, how tight the goal difference is. Literally not conceding is as good as scoring, in my opinion. So if you're not going to score, at least don't concede, because at least that way maybe your goal difference is not going to go down even when you're dropping a point. So yeah, I think that yesterday we saw a real masterclass from Arsenal and Arteta in the way they approached the game, but also in the way they controlled the game. But it was controlled pressure. Like we controlled what Newcastle did. They had to move to what we were doing. If we pressed them, they made mistakes. If we had the ball, they were giving us spaces. It wasn't what they were doing, it was how we were forcing them to play. And I think that brings it perfectly into my next topic, which is just talking about the orchestra of the conductor of the entire orchestra of yesterday's performance, which is Jorginho. I think he came into the middle of the park yesterday, and I think a lot of us, myself included, thought he'd start in the game against Porto, just because you think, in these kind of games, you just need those calm heads. Whether it's Partey, whether it's Jorginho, you just need someone that is willing to get on the ball and break the lines with their passing. I think Jorginho did that fantastically yesterday. We saw his quarterback abilities, pinging balls, over the top, in between the lines. And I just think on the ball, off the ball, he was great. I mean, he ended up cramping up towards the end of the game and having to go off, but that just shows you how involved he actually was. And people, whatever you think of Jorginho, guys, he cost us £12 million. How many players give you this level of performance for £12 million and with this much experience? Again, Jorginho is not the physical player that Declan Rice is. That's why Jorginho, in my opinion, needs to have someone that is maybe equally as technical on the ball as him. So if he gives the ball off to them, they can keep the ball and we don't lose possession, and it makes it a physical game. Or you get a physical specimen like Declan Rice, who's just willing to do all the dirty work. And look, Jorginho does win his fair share of tackles, but you see Rice doing most of the pressing, most of the tackling. Jorginho's just the guy, always open to receive the ball, moving the ball, pinging 1-2, one touches. They're just always keeping the ball moving. And I think you need a player like Jorginho in your team. And that's why I think with Arteta, he would have loved to have Thomas Partey, because I think we would probably see this season a lot more of Thomas Partey, Declan Rice and Martin Odegaard. And I even think with Kai Havertz in that false nine, I think that would be what Arteta was maybe looking to do this season, for the most part. But I think he's adapted the team well enough where you have players like Jorginho coming in, you have guys like Havertz coming into the number 9 position and just really doing well. And yes, I think we criticize these two players because they signed from Chelsea. And let's be honest, Arsenal fans, we almost feel like we're taking Chelsea's rejects, but at the end of the day, we need to do what those players can do for us. And Arteta's wanted Jorginho. He's rated him highly at the time when he was at Man City as an assistant. Pep rates him highly. Arteta rated him that highly that he brought him in last season. And then you look at Havertz. I think slowly but surely we're starting to see Havertz becoming more and more involved in the team and understanding maybe, okay, he can play between the number 10 and number 9 position. They're just making late runs into the box. Not really playing in the midfield, but and then playing as a false 9. I think personally I like him I wouldn't even call it a false 9. He plays like a number 9, guys. He scored yesterday, held the ball up. That's what a striker does. That was a striker's performance yesterday. So I think Havertz as the 9 is looking good. And like I said with Jorginho, I think he's just honestly controlling the way that we play. So yes, guys. I just think yesterday's performance from Arsenal was just so good. Like I said, for me, my man of the match was Jorginho. I just think he did brilliantly. But let me know who you thought maybe was another candidate for man of the match. Maybe it was just to something that maybe some of us haven't or I haven't, and you think there's a player that is actually a lot more vital to our performance. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, guys. So yes, that's just my take on Arsenal's ability to bounce back, and then just how well Jorginho did. Still with more to come, guys. I've got some standout players that I'm going to mention, player ratings, as well as are we over last season's hurdles, and then also just going to just end off speaking about what Arsenal's next couple of fixtures look like and what we should expect. So stick around for the rest of the video, guys. Some standout plays for me from yesterday's performance, guys. I think Gabriel had an exceptional game, and I said it in a group chat with some of my fellow Gunners, and I said, for me personally, he's been my player of the season. Because he's been so consistent, getting goals, looking like an absolute unit in defense. And I really think, when you look at him not starting the first couple of games of the season, there was a bit of doubt whether he wants to stay or not. And obviously there was, they came out the other day that he had talks to Arteta, and Arteta convinced him that, this is the place for him and he shouldn't get distracted. And he's just taken up levels this season, guys. I know everybody likes Saliba, but if you're being honest, this season, Gabriel has outperformed Saliba on a more consistent basis. You might have a favorite Saliba performance, like maybe against City, against Haaland, but overall, this season I think Gabriel has been exceptional. And that's one of the players I just thought I could give a big shout out to. Obviously, the guys, we've got Martin Odegaard, who I think, he was asked yesterday by Rio Ferdinand whether or not, or what type of captain he was, and he said, look, I'm one that leads by example, and I just try to do the right things and some things along those lines. And I can't credit him enough. He has been probably one of my favorite Emirates era captains, and if he wins the title, for me, he's then one of the best, if not the best Emirates captains ever. Because if you look at it, from a creative player, you sometimes get a bit of luxury. They don't feel the need to track back because of what they can do offensively. But Odegaard is total football, guys. He's involved in our build-up, in our pressing, in our attacking. And as a captain, I think that's what you want. Sometimes, people just think of old Arsenal captains like Vieira and Tony Adams, and you want to have this robust, tough tackling, big personality as a captain. But times have changed, guys. And in my opinion, I think Odegaard is a perfect custodian for the captaincy, and so I want to give him a special shout out. I think he's been having good performances since the turn of the season. Since the turn of the new year, and I think he's just continued to grow from strength to strength. And then, guys, I think I'll just obviously touch on Bukayo Saka, I think, when you look at the stats, he's up there with the best. I think Salah this season in the league has got 2 more goals and 2 more assists than him, and with 4 less appearances. And whether you think that's good or not, I'm not comparing him to Salah to say that they're on the same level. I'm just showing that our star boy at 22 is competing at a level, or he's at a consistent level with the best in the league. And if you think about it, season after season, Saka's numbers have improved. His importance to the team has grown, and he's carried the team. Think about Saka, the season when we won the FA Cup. I think that's when he really started to solidify himself in the team. And then you had it when we went for the top 4 and we just missed out. Then we went for the league and then we just missed out. But every single season he's been pivotal to that growth. And I think same with Salah. He didn't just immediately come into Liverpool and win stuff. He just slowly took them levels and levels and levels. I think Saka is doing the same thing. So, in my opinion, whether you think Saka is world class or not, you can't deny the numbers and the influence that this young player has on the team. And remember, he's only 22. So imagine Saka in 3 years at 25 when he really starts to peak. I think we have a future Ballon d'Or winner at Arsenal. And look, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if Arsenal were to win the league or the Champions League and England win the Euros, I mean, a lot of people cried and said, but Messi shouldn't have won the World Cup the Ballon d'Or because of this, that and the other. So that same argument I can use for Saka. You might not think Saka is the best, but if Saka wins the biggest trophies and is pivotal to those things, then surely he should be in competition for Ballon d'Or. That's just my opinion on it. So that's just a couple of the players I wanted to really touch on, guys. I think Declan Rice was solid overall. I think Havertz had one of his better games, obviously getting a goal. And that's what I want to see from Havertz. I want to see Havertz getting involved in all phases, especially in the attack, linking up play, holding it up, scoring, getting on the end of chances, making those runs. And look, he was unlucky to not get a second goal. He probably should have scored. But guys, strikers miss chances. And look, if you look at his shots on target, I think his shots, he had to get 2, he scored 1. For me, that's 50% conversion rate, which is really good for a striker. Obviously, we know there's still more to come from Havertz. I think you can just see he's growing into himself more, growing into his personality, feeling more involved in the team. And I think us as supporters of Arsenal need to not be so quick to judge. I think we also need to just let things unfold. Yes, Havertz is 65 million. Yes, you maybe think there's a better player out there, but we don't actually know what Arteta's plan is. He's not coming out and telling us, yes, guys, Havertz is coming to do this. I'm trying to win like this and this. We're just seeing what Arteta and his coaching staff and the players do behind the scenes on the field. And we have to kind of try and understand, okay, what is what. And, slowly we see that Havertz, whether you like it or not, has been quite integral to how we've played this since the turn of the new year. I mean, even Trossard's ability to interchange has brought us goals. His ability to play up front has brought us goals. Look at Liverpool, look at yesterday's performance. So I just think with Havertz, we were quick to judge. And I think it's maybe because he's also his type of personality, the way he plays, is very relaxed and languid. But that's just who he is, guys. And I think when you're expecting Havertz to be Messi, you're going to get disappointed because he's not Messi, and that's the thing. We need to accept players for what they are and understand certain players won't be able to do certain things, but does not mean that they don't have a function within the team. And yeah, guys, those are just some of the players that I just wanted to give a special mention to. I'm obviously going to do my player ratings now, and then I can obviously just touch on some other players in a little less detail. So I'm going to go through my player ratings. Starting from the back, obviously, I'm going to be starting with David Raya in goal. I think Raya had a solid game. His kicking at times was a bit off, but he was also on point at some of them as well. In terms of the way he caught crosses, came off of crosses, really commanded his box, good saves. Really nothing he could do with the goal. I'm going to give David Raya a 7. I think it was a solid performance. He was really gave us a lot of calmness at the back. Even though there were 1 or 2 moments where you were a bit shaky, not just shaky, but just like not with full conviction. I think overall he had a good, convincing game. So I'm giving him a 7. Then I've got Ben White, guys, who I think again is just getting up to levels, man. He's just looking sharp again. He's just looking like the Ben White that we saw from early last season. And maybe that was just what Arteta had planned. Like, I'm keeping the handbrake on certain players so that later on in the season I can tell them, okay, guys, this is how we're playing, this is how we're going in. Look, I know it sounds easy to say that maybe that's Arteta's plan, or maybe giving him too much credit, but it just looks like the timing of that Dubai trip was so well thought of from the Arsenal technical staff. I'm talking Edu, Arteta, the rest of the people involved. And then obviously looking at Ben White's performances since the turn of the new year, guys, I think he's been exceptional. And we've got to give him a lot of credit for that. Give Arteta a lot of credit for that as well. Then I'm going to move over to William Saliba, guys. I'm going to give him a 7. I think he didn't do anything spectacular. I think he just did well what he needed to do, looked back to his composed best. I think Porto was one of his worst games in my opinion. So yeah, give Saliba 7. Gabriel, I'm going to give him an 8. I think he was really, really good yesterday. I don't want to give him a 9 because I don't think he was on par as Jorginho, but he was really, really good. So I'm going to give him an 8. And then for Jakub Kiwior, I think, guys, he got a goal. He had another solid performance. I'm going to give him a 7. I know he got a goal, but, you know, I don't know if it's really his goal. But overall, I'm just going to, in terms of his overall performance, goal aside, I think he had a solid game. He's looking more confident, and I give him a 7 out of 10. Then the midfield, guys, my man of the match, I'm Jorginho. I'm going to give him a 9. I think he was outstanding for the 75 odd minutes he played, or 80, I'm not exactly sure. He just looked like the boss. You know, like the game was flowing at his pace. What he wanted to happen was happening, and I think that was the experience that he showed. I think that was these leadership qualities that he showed, and just his, you know, overall technical ability. I think a lot of people don't give, you know, when you watch the Premier League, the Premier League has always given us fast, this type of players, you know, the electrifying players that you not think always are the best. But if you're someone like me who's taken in a lot of leagues, I've watched La Liga, I've watched Serie A, I've watched a bit of Liga, the Eredivisie, you know, just here and there. And there's so many technical players, guys, that are honestly levels above Premier League players that you just don't see. You know, no wonder Madrid have won Champions League, have they've won Barcelona, Bayern Munich, you know. You just wonder why these teams do that. It's not because of anything, but because their levels in their leagues are very disrespected, you know. And I mean, look at Arsenal. We disrespect. I think we really disrespected Porto in the way some of the fans are thinking about it. But these leagues have technical players, guys. And Jorginho, I think if you'd ask any other manager in any other league or any other player in any other league, they probably rate Jorginho insanely higher than maybe your more box-to-box Declan Rice's, N'Golo Kante's, and I'm being genuine with that. I'm talking from a technical point of view that Jorginho is such a technical player. I think, you know, he's not as physical as Rodri, but if Jorginho had Rodri's physicality, I think he would be one of the best number 6s in the league. Him and Rodri would be on par in terms of what I think they do on a technical level. Rodri, I think, has just done it on a more consistent basis because he's been in a more consistent team. But I do think you can see Jorginho, I mean, with the Euros, with the Champions Leagues, and now looking at how he's been playing for Arsenal in the big games, and it's not just now, but since last season, he's been spectacular. Then with Declan Rice, guys, I'm going to give him a good 7. I think, you know, Declan did what Declan does, cleaned up well, pressed well, you know, had a good shot in the first half, which I liked. I want to see him being a bit more attack-minded when he's in the number 8 and trying to go for goal, you know. I think he's a player that can maybe give you 5 or 8 goals a season, maybe 5, but I think that's still good enough from a 6/8. And then Martin Odegaard, guys, I'm also going to give him a 7. I think Odegaard was good, he was influential, but not on the ball as much as like Jorginho. He was more second conductor when Jorginho gave him the ball, and, you know, Odegaard for me really impressed me in terms of the way he pressed the ball. And that's what you get from Odegaard. You know, Odegaard performance, at least, you know, when he's pressing and he's getting involved in that perspective, you know that there is at least a base level for him to perform well. Then, guys, moving over to our front 3, I think Saka had another good game. I think he looked a lot more lively this game as he did against Porto. I think the whole team did, obviously, but I think today I would probably give Saka, and I'm not going to, just because he scored a really good goal, but I'm still going to give him a 7 because I don't think he was at the levels that I think he can get to, so I'm going to give him a 7. Martinelli, I'm going to give a... It's a weird... Okay, Martinelli gets an assist, so actually, no, I have to be quite fair. I think we give Martinelli a 7. I almost gave him a 6 because I thought, okay, was he as influential? But it's also like, I think him and Saka had the same level of influence. Martinelli didn't score, but he did genuinely create a goal. You know, it wasn't some soft assist. It was a proper running behind, good cutback, and, you know, Havertz is at the end of it. And I think Saka with the goal, yes, he scored, but other than that, him and Martinelli's threat levels looked quite even to me. And then I'm going to just end off with Kai Havertz. I think he had a really, really good game. I'm going to give him an 8. I think the goal, his overall hold-up play, his interlinking play, that looked like a proper number 9 in my opinion, guys. So whatever you want to say. So those are my player ratings, guys. For the subs, I don't think any of them really made an impact, but I'll probably score it, you know, Trossard a 6, Smith Rowe a 6, Nketiah a 5, and I'll probably give Nelson a 5 as well. And look, I'll give a 6 as I think Alnini came on and just, you know, kept it moving. So yeah, guys, those are my player ratings for yesterday's game. Let me know what you thought of some of the performances. Am I too harsh in some of my ratings? Am I a bit too lenient? Is there another man of the match that you maybe thought of, guys? So yes, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. And yeah, let's keep it moving. Guys, I just want to speak about what I think and how I think Arsenal bounced back in terms of the mental battle and some of the challenges maybe they faced from last season and how they're handling it this season. I think maybe last season Arsenal had the habit of, not necessarily the habit, but I think it's Arteta teams have had habits of losing a game and making it a couple losses in a row. I think we've already had that little blip, in my opinion. I would hope to think that in the West Ham and Fulham games, because if you look at the previous seasons, it's been like 3 games in a row we've lost, and I don't think it's exceeded that. So I think yesterday proved to me that the players have grown. Look, I don't think Newcastle were the greatest. Maybe they had one eye on the FA Cup game on Tuesday or Wednesday, knowing that, look, in the league they might not make Europe, so they might look to win the FA Cup and make Europe through that route. But we just lost in Europe, played against Newcastle. Newcastle could have showed up in any type of, mental state, ready to really go and try and frustrate us like they did last season at the Emirates. And I think Arsenal approached the game in the right way. I think mentally, the boys really knew that they let themselves down and the fans down on Wednesday night. But I think they really did do well yesterday to give us that confidence that, this was maybe just a anomaly and just it was a once-off performance, because the way we bounced back yesterday, guys, we could have easily won that game by 6 goals, in my opinion. That's not out of the realms of possibility, especially with that first half performance. And if Arsenal are going to win the league, guys, we are going to need to jump over those hurdles of last season in terms of the mental blocks. We've beaten Liverpool, we've beaten City this season at home, which is a mental block. We haven't lost to Liverpool, which is another mental block. Can we go and win at White Hart Lane for two years in a row, or which has been a while? Can we go to the Etihad and finally win there? Can we not lose to Brighton this season, which is, I think, might be a very important thing? Can we go to Old Trafford and win at the second last game of the season? All the pressure's on us, and everyone's watching and hoping we fail. There's those kind of things where, like last season, we lost at Old Trafford, we lost at the Etihad, we lost against Brighton. We beat Spurs, but like there's been seasons where we've lost to Spurs twice in a row. We've just struggled at their home ground. Those are the things Arsenal need to get over this season, especially for the league campaign. I'm talking more of the league campaign. Champions League, in my opinion, I don't know. I don't know how you as a player handle it, knowing it's a Champions League round of 16 tie and a Europa League round of 16 tie. I don't think they weigh the same, if I'm being honest. I'm not saying that's why Arsenal got knocked out, but I think when Arsenal played Porto in a couple of weeks at the Emirates, I think we will see us beat them, in my opinion. I don't think it'll be straightforward, but I think we will beat them, because I think we will step it up a level, and I think the players know how important it is to go far in the Champions League. Not necessarily win it, but just to, in the first round, you want to come into the competition first season after 7 years, get knocked out in round of 16. You at least want to maybe get at least to the quarterfinals, and if you go past the quarterfinals, you never know. So I think it's important for Arsenal this season to really get over certain stigmas. Example, going to the Etihad, do we maybe need to win that game? Maybe not. Against Spurs, do we maybe need to win that game? Maybe not. Certain games, maybe, it's like a point at Spurs and a point at City, but beating, let's say United, for example, and beating Brighton, you somehow still win the league. It's just that the reason why you've won the league is because you haven't lost against City this season. Look, in previous seasons, we were always like at least 1 point out of 6 against them. We were never more than that. This season, we're going into the second game against City with 3 out of 6 of the points. So we could leave with 6 with 6, 4 out of 6, or 3 out of 6, depending on the result. So I think this is going to be very important for Arsenal to really put to bed some of those problems and those hurdles that we faced last season. And I think if the players and the coaching staff and the fans especially can do that and believe really, then I think we've got every reason to think that Arsenal can at least get one of these trophies over the line. Whichever one is, I think any Arsenal fan will be happy, if I'm being honest with you. But I think, the league more so, purely based on the fact that you didn't win it last season, the way we let it go. The Champions League would be great. I think every Arsenal fan is dreaming of winning the Champions League. But I think a league title, for where this current Arsenal team is I think the first benchmark. But either way, I won't complain if you win a league or Champions League. I think as an Arsenal fan, I'm going to be over the moon. And then guys, just to end off this video, I'm just going to look ahead at Arsenal's run. I'm not going to really go into too much detail, guys. I'll be dropping a more in-depth video on Arsenal's next 6 fixtures and what to look forward to and what I expect to happen. But what I can say is that we've got Sheffield United away and Man City away, and then you've got Brentford, Chelsea, Porto at home. So you have 3 away games and 2 home games. Sorry, that's basically only 5 games. So just gonna double check. We've got next game Sheffield away, Brentford at home, Sheffield, Brentford, Porto, Chelsea, and then City. So yes, guys, you see we have 3 home games squeezed in in the middle of this run. So you know, against we've got a away game against Sheffield at the beginning of this next 5 games, and an away game against City at the end of this next 5 games. Those 3 home games, we should get 3 wins, in my opinion. We should be beating Porto, we should be beating Brentford, and we should be beating Chelsea, right? So that's 6 points at home, and I would expect us to beat Sheffield, and that's what, 9 wins in the league, plus a quarterfinal berth in the Champions League. I think that gives you a great platform to go into the international break and then come back against City. I would have actually loved for the City game to come, but it depends. Let me see where we are in terms of before that game. You know, we might lose all these games, and I might be like, I'm so happy we're getting a break, or we could be winning, and I'm like, damn, you know, we could really have just played it at the ideal time. But the most important thing for me, I think, is that Arsenal need to go into this next run of games and win them, because they are winnable and we are favourites. And I want Arsenal to take authority for being favourites and play like we are favourites and like we are better than these teams. So yeah, guys, I'm going to do another video later on in the week, just going into a bit more depth, because obviously we've got quite a big break between our next game, which is on Monday. So it's obviously not tomorrow, it's the following Monday, away at Sheffield United. So I will be dropping a bit more content, just, you know, discussing our next couple of fixtures, doing a preview to that game. And yeah, just let me know, guys, what other kind of content you'd like me to drop, what other kind of content you'd like to see. And yes, guys, let me know what your prediction is for the next run of games for Arsenal. Do you think we can go winless, or do you think there will be a couple of hurdles in there for us? As always, guys, my name is Shannon, and this has been Golden Gooner TV. And remember, Gooners, it's good to be a Gooner.